Hey, vinyl community, Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records, and I thought I would show some records I recently acquired. I've two things. Adam at Record Krate does record sales, kind of like 20-minute flash sales or whatever, on YouTube, and I've been buying records through that source since we've been shut down with the pandemic. Buy Right Many records from Adam. For the last couple of months, I just told Adam, don't send me any of these that I picked. Just put them to the side, and I'll either the things will get better, and I'll be able to get up there to your shop, or once I've got a bunch of them, you can ship them to me then. So I was able to get up there Sunday and pick them up fully masked. Come in, no more than two people in his shop at a time, come in, and I was able to pick up these records. So I want to show you those records. These are over the last 2 or 3 months. I've picked about 20 records from Adam. If you're looking for Adam's channel, it's simply Record Krate, Krate with a K, and you should come upon it. And if you subscribe, you'll start seeing notices that he's selling records. And he sells all kinds of records, everything you can imagine. So check that out. And after I left the Record Krate, I went to the first record show I've been to in probably about 15 months, I guess. Because the next one seemed like was scheduled for February or February or March of 2020. And of course they canceled it, and so they came through Raleigh this time, and I drove up about 30 miles away. I drove up and went in there, and again I was a little apprehensive going into the in there, but because there's a fairly large number of people in there in one of the conference rooms of hotel, and but you pay you $2 to Greg Neal's the one that runs the things. And I went in there and shopped around. From what I could tell, everybody was masked, and I'm fully vaccinated, and all my people I come into contact are fully vaccinated, but I wanted to protect others in case I could be shedding the virus, even though I'm vaccinated, don't have it. And as I show active respect toward others as well. So anyway, went in there. I didn't stay very long. I didn't want to, risk being in there an overly long period of time and getting into a situation where we were all crammed together. I kept my distance, went through, and found some records. So I'm going to show you those too. But first I'll show you what I've gotten from Adam at Record Krate. Carter Brothers Band, Aurora. These are two brothers, Dan and Tim, and they live in Nashville now. One brother's not doing well health-wise, I understand. The other brother has a studio outside of Nashville that he does a lot of engineering and production and things like that. But my connection with them, they are from the Triad area, Burlington, I believe, maybe, or somewhere right up there. And one of my best friends, he went to school with one of these two. I don't remember if it was Dan or Tim, but he went to school with them at Lee's McRae Junior College up in Banner Elk, North Carolina. And he was telling me he thought those guys, they used to hang out, and they would play music. The Carter boys would play music stuff they enjoyed. And so after he told me that story and everything, I found one of their records, showed it to him, and it was a thrill. Oh yeah, this guy, I remember this guy, and he told me some stories. And so when I saw this, Adam had this, I said, yeah, let me get that. Some comedy, the Giesenshaw brothers. If You Think I'm Crazy Now, country comedy. Okay. Kenny Baker and Josh Graves, Buck Time. This would be bluegrass, in all likelihood bluegrass, on the Puritan label. Kenny Baker is a fiddler. Josh Graves is dobro player, of course. So that should be some good music. For all the Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris albums, and to a lesser extent Dolly Parton albums that I have, I did not have Trio, but I do now. Okay. Several months, if not a year back, I did a series on the country brother acts, the duos, and one of the duos I featured were the Blue Sky Boys. And I probably already have this album with a different cover. This is the Sunny Side of Life, because I've got 5 or 6 Blue Sky Boy albums. But this has got that nice textured jacket feel, and it's on Rounder Records. So I went ahead and got that one too. It may be a better copy than what I've got if I do have it. Another bluegrass band, Blue Ridge, Best Yet. Dave Edmonds, just talking about Dave Edmonds, he produced the first Foghat album. If you see Dave Edmonds, get anything he's got out there. It's all good rootsy rock music. And there's Dave Edmonds. Riff Raff is this album from 1984. There for a while, about the only rock and roll music that was any good in my opinion coming out in the early 80s seemed to be Dave Edmonds and Nick Lowe. Jimmy Dale Gilmore, Texas singer-songwriter, and was glad to get this. I've had some on CD, but don't have that particular album. That's on High Tone. Another bluegrass album. I don't know anything about this group, but I said, yep, sure, Adam, I want that one. Touchstone, The New Land. And they're it's from the early 80s, kind of a hippie-ish looking bluegrass band, so I'll probably like that. One of those groups that came out when and got popular when CDs were ruling the world and you didn't see nearly as many LPs. So I was glad to finally get some vinyl from the Georgia Satellites. And of course, this is that debut album with Keep Your Hands to Yourself, Battleship Chains. Terry Anderson from a band I used to go see called the Fabulous Knobs. He wrote Battleship Chains for that, and later was in a band with Dan Baird from Georgia Satellites. They called themselves the Woodpeckers. And then when Keep Your Hands to Yourself maybe started catching on or something, and the Georgia Satellites had existed, and then they had disbanded, and he had moved up to North Carolina, Dan Baird, and was in the Woodpeckers. But then something happened, and it looked like there was a hope for a record deal or something with the Georgia Satellites. Baird goes back down to Atlanta, and the Woodpeckers changed their name to the Woods and continued on. Bluegrass from Roy Hall and the Blue Ridge Entertainers. This is on County Records. Great traditional label, and I like that's a playbill or a flyer from one of their shows. Children could get in for 15 cents. Adults, it would cost you 30 cents to get into this show. Fun for all, a good clean show. And he probably would have been a much bigger artist. He was well on his way and was killed in a car accident in the prime. Then we've got the whole Elvis isn't dead conspiracy thing. Well, Shel Singleton, who owned Plantation Records, he owned the Sun Records label catalog. He bought it from Sam Phillips, and he was always coming up with schemes. Well, one of his schemes, Orion, was an artist named Orion. And another of his schemes was colored vinyl. That's pretty popular today, isn't it? But was anybody really? Not many people were doing it back then. So, see this Orion colored vinyl on Sun. Let's see. And the whole deal with Orion was he was the implication was that he was really Elvis, but he was wearing a mask, a Lone Ranger type mask, and performing under the name Orion. And it worked to a little bit, you know. No, he never become a big superstar or anything, but it worked for a little while, and sold some records, I guess. Got some concert dates, but this I bought it as on a lark. I don't even know if I'll like it or not, but you know, just the novelty of it, everything. Sadly, there's a documentary about the guy that was Orion. He got out of the music business after a while and opened a pawn shop. I think it was in Alabama, maybe. It could have been Mississippi or Louisiana, but I think it was Alabama where he was from. And a little small town place, and he had a little pawn shop out in the country. And his ending was not pretty. He was murdered there in a holdup at his pawn shop. But watch that documentary. I'm just giving away the ending. Sorry, but watch that documentary if you get a chance. You'll enjoy it. Adam at Record Krate knows I love Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli, so he had sent me a email and said, "Hey, I've got these two. Just got them in. Do you want me to reserve them for me?" Oh yes. So Django 35 to 39, the Quintet of the Hot Club of France. And what label is this on? Crescendo, GNP Crescendo. And on the Angel Records, Great Jazz Recordings of the Century, Django Reinhardt, Stefan Grappelli, Quintet of the Hot Club of France, recordings from 1937. I like string music. I'm learning more and enjoying some jazz as well. So I got this Vinnie Burke's String Jazz Quartet, and it's a white label promo, so hopefully it'll sound extra good. And it's bass, violin, cello, guitar, and on some of the tunes, Kenny Burrell plays guitar on this. So, looking forward to that. I also collect local and regional acts albums, and he had a copy of the Deads from Richmond, I believe, from Virginia anyway. And there's the Deads. Don't know if I like it or not, but it'll go in my collection of local regional artists. Great guitarist Merle Travis, double record set on CMH label. Some bluegrass featuring Norman Blake, red, white, and bluegrass. Really good bluegrass band. Didn't normally include Norman Blake, but for that album, he played the mandolin and shared some of the vocals. Red Sovine, Little Rosa, and this is Bulldog Records out of the UK. And Nancy Griffith. This is a live recording on MCA Records, and it is called One Fair Summer Evening. Okay. And then I went to the record show, so I'll show you what I got at the record show. From when you first walk in, Greg Deal is the one that does the record shows. And you first walk in, you give Greg your $2 admission, and his is the first tables you come to. So I almost always buy a few things from Greg. Got these for $5, got one of them for $10. I was glad to get them. Staple Singers, this is a gospel album from them. Bobby Gentry doing Fancy. I've got almost all Bobby Gentry's albums now. She's got a Record Store Day release of an album that was never actually released. It's a jazz album. And so it's about the only thing that interests me from Record Store Day from what I've seen. I recently did an incomplete discography of Chris Hillman, and there's an album I didn't have from the Desert Rose Band from the mid-1980s, I believe, Pages of Life. Hillman writes almost all the songs on the Desert Rose Band catalog. Robbie Robertson from the band, Geffen release from him. And the one I paid $10 for, the great old-time bluegrass artist, Hazel and Alice. Hazel Dickens and Alice Greer. This is a rounder release, and really, really looking forward to spending that one. Well worth the $10. And then I went to another booth, and let's see if I can arrange these. And they were, he had 4 for $10 boxes, and he had 5 for $20 boxes. I'm always looking for bargains, so I stayed in the 4 for $10 area, and here's what I came up with. I got some just, common, very common classic rock. I got the Eagles, The Long Run. I'm not a huge Eagles fan. I like the Eagles. I don't dislike them, but I don't, I don't go out searching for their material to any great extent. But if I see a nice clean copy or something, I'll pick it up sometime. So for $2.50, I think it was worth it. History of Eric Clapton. Nothing unusual about this. Of course, this is just a kind of a compilation. I'm paying $2.50 for each of these. So they're oftentimes the jackets are in rough condition. That doesn't bother me one bit. It's all about the vinyl to me. I know lots of people have different opinions about that, but it's all about the vinyl to me. You can put your name on the record. I don't care. In fact, I kind of like that. I think it gives it character. If the vinyl's in good condition, that just means I can get it a little cheaper because the jacket is in rough shape. Here's one I really look forward to playing. It's the Turtles. And let's see. There we go. And is this on White Whale? Yep. The White Whale label. Okay. And mentioned Shel Shelby Singleton owned the Sun catalog, Plantation Records, and all that. One of his sub-labels was Share Records, and this is just simply some of Johnny Cash's material. He owned the Sun catalog, so some of his material from the Sun catalog that he re-released, probably in the early 70s or something like that. It's got Big River on it. It's got a Walk the Line, of course. It's got Get Rhythm and Luther's Boogie. So just those 4 records, having those 4 songs on there makes it worth $2.50 easy. And I'm trying to get a better, cleaner copy of Elton John's Tumbleweed Connection, and hopefully this will do the trick. I wasn't familiar with this artist, Karen Dalton. I'm not familiar with her except on Molly Tuttle's covers album that she did recently. She covered a Karen Dalton song. I don't think it's one she wrote. I think it's one that she had recorded. She mentions it as knowing the song from Karen Dalton. So I just saw this. Again, I'm paying $2.50. Remembering Mountains, Unheard Songs of Karen Dalton. And it's other people. She died early in life. Karen Dalton did, I understand. And this is other artists recording songs that she had written but had never released. And I only recognize a couple or 3 of these artists. Lucinda Williams is on this. Patty Griffin is on here. And from John at Digital Gramophone, he was doing his top 200 records, and he mentioned Sharon Van Eaton, an album by her. Well, she does the opening song on side 1, Remembering Mountains, in fact. But don't know anything, but this is one of those, blind buys. Let's see what we come up with. And Robert Hunter, of course, Tales of the Great Rum Runners. Cover is worn, but the vinyl looks good. And I had a copy of this, but it was trashed when I'd picked up crate digging, so I got another, Robert Hunter's Tiger Rose. Okay, and again, the cover's pretty trashed, but the vinyl looked good. Okay, and finally, I got, guy wanted $15 for this. I try to get all, I love John Hartford. I try to get all his records. This is one I did not have. John Hartford catalog from '81 on Flying Fish Records. And this is in really good shape, so I had to pay a little more for that. He wanted 15. I held it up. I said, well, you take 10 for it. He took it. So now I've got that, and it would have been worth 15, but I didn't want to pay that much. It's definitely worth $10. And finally, right before I left, I checked one more table, and I found 3 records for $5 and 2 for $10 that I thought I would enjoy. I handed them to him. I said, so $35. I handed it to him. I said, you take 25 for it. He said, can't do 25. He said, I'll do 30. So that's what I was going for anyway. So got that. Nancy and Lee. I think this has been reissued, remastered, whatever, and is selling for decent money. Now, of course, this is one of the original recordings, and it's got Jackson on it. I remember that song very well when those two did it. And Little Blues, Blind Lemon Jefferson, Volume 2, on Milestone Records. Someone told me that was a jazz label. I'm not familiar with it. And I love Folkways Records, and I love collecting albums that are recordings from festivals. And this fit the bill in both ways. The folk music of the Newport Folk Festival, 1959 to 1960. New Lost City Ramblers are on here, as you might expect. Sanitary and Brownie McGee are on here. So looking forward to spinning that record. And then these are the two he wanted $10 for. The Sir Douglas Quintet, of course, I remember them having some hit songs on the radio. And I never knew how to say the main guy and their's last name. I believe it's Shaheen, Doug Sheem or Shaheen. Well, he was in the Austin area for a long time, and I was able to get 2 of his albums from 73 and 74, Rough Edges, and this says with the Sir Douglas Quintet, and Groover's Paradise. And this one features the rhythm section from Creedence Clearwater Revival. Stu Cook and Doug Clifford. So looking forward to playing those two. All right, so there's my trip to the record show and what I got from Adam at the Record Krate. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, be kind to your neighbors because we're all neighbors.